this meeting is being recorded. Therefore, please be aware that an audio and visual recording of this meeting is being made and broadcast by Boston City TV, which is a part of the City of Boston Office of Cable Communications. And now I hand it over to Jerry.
Hi, my name is Jerry Boyd, and I'm the chair of the advisory board, and I live in West Roxbury. And we're starting with introductions to my right.
Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Dienklauer. I am the vice chair for the advisory board, and I live in Back Bay.
Jucia L. Short. I live in Mission Hill, and I'm a treasurer and board member.
Hi, I'm Wes Ireland. I'm a board member, and I live in the North End.
Hi, I'm Olivia Richard. I am the secretary for the board, and I live in Brighton.
I'm Carl Richardson. I live in Brighton and happen to be a neighbor of Olivia's, and I'm an advisory member.
I'm Paul Karen, and I live in the West End Beacon Hill area. I serve here on the advisory board and work at the BPDA.
And do we have any board members joining us on the phone?
Anyone on the phone? Not at this time.
And
Hi, I'm Kristen McCosh. I'm the disability commissioner and ADA Title II coordinator for the City of Boston.
okay, and next on the agenda is the approval of both the December and January minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Any seconds?
I second.
All in favor? Any opposed? The motion carries. Next on the agenda is a presentation from Amy Walsh of the Age Strong Commission.
Right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Amy Walsh. I'm from the Age Strong Commission, formerly the Elderly Commission. We've recently changed our names. I work in the Dementia Friendly Initiative in the Age Strong Commission. And if you're wondering what dementia friendly means, it's really making sure people living with dementia are respected, included, and able to engage with their community as they age in the city of Boston. So thank you again for having me, and I'd like to start kind of with what I'm hoping to present to you all today, and I really hope and welcome your feedback and questions, and looking forward to that. So the three things I'll be going over today are kind of an overview of Alzheimer's and dementia. What is the difference? So we all have a similar vocabulary to work with. The second thing I'll do is going over the programs that we offer through the Age Strong Commission, specifically relating to people living with dementia. And the third thing I'll go over is really the prevalence in our population and why we're looking at these issues. So with that being said, the first thing I would like you to do is bear with me and do a little exercise. I'll give everyone just a quick 45 seconds, and if you would, either write down or think of how many steps it takes you to brush your teeth. So I'll go ahead and give you about 45 seconds, and then we'll reconvene, and I'd love to hear from you how many steps it takes. Ten more seconds. All right, so if you wouldn't mind just shouting out, how many steps would you say? 50? Great. Anyone else? All right, 50. That was actually more than I had. So 10. Great. 6.
If I get the toothpaste on the first time.
Great, thank you. So the reason why I asked this, I've come up with 22, so I'm curious from you, sir, what is your first step in your 50 steps?
Picking up your toothbrush.
Picking up your toothbrush, thank you. So my first step is locating the bathroom. Right? If we're pulling it back, the things that we do out of muscle memory are so ingrained in us that we do them automatically and we don't necessarily think about the very first step. And for someone living with dementia or another form of cognitive impairment, those steps may take more effort to exert, or those steps may become out of order. So step 50 may become step 25, or step 1 may become step 15. So it's really important to think about those everyday tasks that we do and how someone living with dementia may have difficulty in completing those steps, or maybe completing those steps in the order that they had previously done that. So thank you for bearing with me for that. So next we'll just talk about the difference, what dementia is, and then a difference between dementia and Alzheimer's, which is a very common question. So dementia is actually a group of symptoms that lead to memory affecting thinking and behavior, as well as emotion. So all those things are affected, and those symptoms include loss of memory, difficulty finding the right words or understanding what people are saying, difficulty in performing previously routine tasks, like we were talking about brushing your teeth, and personality or mood changes. So that is the definition of dementia. It's a collective name for a group of symptoms. However, dementia is not a normal part of aging, and I want to make that very clear. It is not guaranteed that at a certain age someone will definitely develop dementia. So it is not a normal part of aging, which is frequently suggested that it is a normal part of aging, and we're really working against that because that is not true. So the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia, because dementia is a group of symptoms, it is not a disease itself. So it has to be caused by something else. And Alzheimer's disease is the cause of dementia, or vascular dementia, or Lewy body dementia could be causing that group of symptoms that we know as dementia, but it is something that is causing the dementia. Dementia is not the disease in itself. So an analogy I like to think of is that if we have a headache, our headache is caused by something. It's caused by dehydration or stress, or maybe a cold that you have. So dementia is the headache, and the cause is Alzheimer's disease, or perhaps a medication mismanagement, or maybe Lewy body dementia. So there are different brain diseases that cause this symptom of dementia. So here on this slide, I have an umbrella. Really, the umbrella term is dementia, but there are many different diseases that can cause dementia. The most common being Alzheimer's disease, which is 50 to 75%. The next leading cause of dementia is vascular dementia, which is 20 to 30%. And then it goes down from there. Lewy body dementia, 10 to 25%, and frontal temporal lobe, 10 to 15%. So those are just a few brain diseases that can cause dementia, but there are many more than that as well. So next we'll go on to the 10 warning signs that the Alzheimer's Association really promotes as things that people should be aware of if they're concerned about their memory. These are only 10, but it's always important to discuss this with your healthcare team if you have any concerns. And it's always better to, over-acknowledge than under-acknowledge, and really make sure that early prevention and early detection is maintained. So any of these concerns should be discussed with your healthcare team. So we'll go through these. Most of them are self-explanatory. There's 10 on this list, and the first being memory loss that disrupts daily life. So often I'm asked if I went into the other room and I forgot why I was there. Does that mean that I have some form of dementia? We are human, and there are plenty of times where we forget things, and that's perfectly normal. But something that may disrupt your daily life is maybe if you misplace your car keys and you put them in the freezer, and then you find them in the freezer and you're not sure what those car keys are for. How do I use these car keys? Something that you may be very familiar with that is no longer familiar or is difficult to carry out. 2, challenges in planning or solving problems. 3, difficulty completing familiar tasks at home, at work, or at leisure. 4, confusion with time or place. 5, trouble understanding visual images and spatial relationships. 6, new problems with words in speaking or writing. 7, misplacing things and losing the ability to retrace steps. 8, decreased or poor judgment. 9, withdrawal from work or social activities. And 10, changes in mood and personality. So next I'll focus on the Age Strong programs that we offer for people living with dementia, and these are 2 sheets that I passed out that everyone should have. So the first is the Respite Companion program, which is the blue sheet at your table. And what this program is a free program that offers respite for care partners. So if someone who is living with dementia is living at home, there are trained volunteers who come into the home to engage with the person living with dementia so that their care partner can have time to do whatever it is that they'd like to do. So that is a minimum of 3 hours per week that someone can come into the home and be with that person living with dementia and provide that respite for that care partner. Oftentimes, volunteers provide more than 3 hours per week, but the minimum is that 3 hours. And again, that is a really important thing for care partners, and feedback that we have received, that respite is so important to have time to care for themselves so that they can care with and care for their loved one. So that is a free program. People are also able to become volunteers if they would like to, but that is a free program that families can avail of. Our second program that you also have a printout at your table is our Memory Cafe programs. So we at the Age Strong Commission run 4 memory cafes in the city, and what a memory cafe is really a party for people living with dementia and their loved ones. It's a place to come together, to learn something new, to have fun, and really forget about those limitations and not feel so alone that other people are also going through this. And that is, again, feedback that we've received for social programming that's fun, that's not medical, that's not a education program, but rather something that's enjoyable, that's safe and welcoming for both people living with dementia and their loved ones. So now we'll switch gears on page 7 of the PowerPoint to learning disability and the risk of developing dementia. So I'd like to say first that there's unfortunately really a dearth of information about the link between learning disabilities and dementia. As we're still learning more information about dementia generally, there's really a lack of information about this topic. However, there is information specifically related to Down syndrome more than any other learning disability. And so as the literature has defined in terms of learning disabilities and the risk of developing dementia, they have defined a learning disability as a lifelong condition that affects someone's learning, communication, and understanding. The person may require support with some aspects of their life, including planning, learning new skills, and socializing. So this is kind of the definition from the literature in terms of the risk factors. And so what they have found is that people with learning disabilities are at an increased risk of developing dementia as they age compared with others without a learning disability. However, these figures vary according to how the diagnosis is made. And so the current information in the literature is that about 1 in 5 people with a learning disability who are over the age of 65 will develop dementia. And that's why it's very important for early detection and early diagnoses. And unfortunately, currently, people with a learning disability are less likely to receive a correct or early diagnosis of dementia. And so that is linked possibly with a more rapid progression of dementia, although this can be complicated by the lack of diagnosis or delay in diagnosis. And so more specifically to people living with Down syndrome, there's more information that there is age-related diagnosis of dementia for people living with Down syndrome. So the current information is that about 10 to 25% of people living with Down syndrome in ages range 40 to 49, 10 to 25% will develop dementia. In age group 50 to 59, 20 to 50% will develop dementia, and over age 60, 30 to 75% will develop dementia. And again, those numbers are quite a range, as you can tell. But again, because of a delay in diagnosis or a lack of diagnosis, that is really what causes the range in those numbers. And again, it has not been fully identified as to why there is a link between Down syndrome and dementia. However, it is thought to be linked to the extra copy of chromosome 21, but research is still being carried out about that, and they're thinking that the chromosome 21 carries the amyloid gene, which plays a significant factor in Alzheimer's disease. So that is the link there, because Alzheimer's disease is most common among people living with Down syndrome, and that is a makeup of amyloid plaques and tangles without going too far into the biology. And so if that chromosome is carrying the amyloid gene, that could be linked to the amyloid buildup in the brain, but research is still being done about that. And lastly, why we're focusing on this. So currently 130,000 people are living with dementia in Massachusetts, and that number is set to rise to 150,000 by 2025. And there are currently 11,000 people living with dementia in Boston, and that number is set to rise as well. However, it is thought that these are underestimates of the current number of people living with dementia for fear of stigma, for underdiagnosis, for people who may be socially isolated or not have adequate medical care. So these numbers are thought to be underestimated rather than overestimated. And currently 1 in 8 Americans is living with Alzheimer's disease age 65 and over, and nearly 1 in 4 Americans is living with Alzheimer's disease age 85 and over. So really, why we're focusing on this in our dementia-friendly initiative is really to increase awareness and understanding, to reduce stigma, to support people to live well with dementia, to access resources, and to continue to engage people living with dementia in the community. So Thank you very much for having me. I really welcome your questions. And here are just a list of resources, which has also been emailed out to you, and they are hyperlinked as well to that information. Thank you.
I just had a question.
Yes, please.
This is Jerry. The memory cafes, are they all wheelchair accessible? Because I imagine a lot of the seniors that would take advantage of a lot of the resources also have some mobility issues as well, so.
Absolutely, and that is something we discussed with Commissioner McIntosh that, that yes, all the ones that we run through the Age Strong Commission are wheelchair accessible.
Great. Any other questions from the members of the commission? Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Thank you for the presentation. This is Elizabeth.
Oh.
I was interested to know a little bit more about the the Respite program.
Yes, absolutely. Anything in particular?
How many, approximately, is there some knowledge about how many people are currently participating, or?
I don't have those exact numbers. My colleague runs the program. I believe 20 families are participating in the program currently, but I would have to double check those numbers. But it is, again, something that people can sign up to become a volunteer for, and they go through kind of an extensive training. They're quarried, sorried, and fingerprinted, because we know going into someone's home, it's a very private thing. We want to make sure everyone is safe and well trained as well. And families, again, this is a free service anyone in the city of Boston can avail of. And again, I'm not sure how many families are currently participating, and that may be, 20 may be lowballing it, so I would definitely have to double check on that.
Thank you, because also, as a follow-up, I can see how the, in addition to the quality of life issues, the impact on the entire family, that economically, certainly in a situation, I can speak firsthand to a situation where my own father had late onset dementia, presumptively Alzheimer's, and really assisted living was the only situation that was workable for our family arrangement. And they provided very good care. They had, what did they call it? Something like the reminiscence floor or something like that, for people like my father who are experiencing these conditions, but certainly also recognizing that families or close friends of families need support themselves, because certainly when someone is on that slope of progressively losing their cognitive ability, to not have them recognize your name or eventually even their own information about themselves, their own birth date, that kind of thing, is certainly a difficult transition, but that there are ways, it sounds like a cliche, but the simple pleasures, a meal together or other kinds of things that can be done. But that is an additional dimension to the problem, is that whether it's through caregivers in a home setting, since in some cases volunteers wouldn't be able to cover all the time and demands, but just recognizing that in our own situation, because my father had worked for many years, he had some assets that could be used for this purpose, but that I think it's important that this issue is being addressed.
Absolutely, and you bring up a great point about care partner support as well, and support groups are very important, and Respite to be able to care with and care for their loved one, to make sure that they're also taking care of themselves. But that is a great point.
Any other questions from members of the commission? Ducia?
Yes, hi, thank you. This is Ducia again. I want to first thank you so much for your presentation. I I think it's a little personal. For me, it's a little personal because I used to work with elderly people, 55 plus, and so I really appreciate your presentation and everything that you're doing. I think I have maybe 2 questions.
Great.
The first one, I also used to work with people who had dementia, Alzheimer's, and Lewy body disorder. Is there anywhere where I can get more research on vascular and frontotemporal? I mean, do you have a website where I can get brief, because I never heard of those two? Is it
Yep.
like a new?
Yes, I can certainly send some information to be disseminated more specifically on vascular. And what was the second one? Lewy body dementia?
Frontotemporal?
Frontotemporal.
Yeah, I just never heard of said those two are just new to me, so
Sure.
just curious. And the other question I have is your organization, your office, regarding, do you do advocacy? I know you do awareness. Do you also do advocacy, or was that work for for those who have learning disability and risk of dementia or Down syndrome and dementia? I'm not even sure what I'm trying to ask. Do you have do advocacy for these people, or what awareness? Is there a meetup for them? What exactly?
Yeah.
Do you do?
Yeah. So through our kind of memory cafe programs, that's a chance for people to really get together, and also really helping support people advocate for themselves within the healthcare system, specifically like group advocacy for policy. Unfortunately, at the city level, we're not able to do that. But really encouraging people to advocate for themselves. And that's really my role and who I am as a resource to really help people navigate the process after a diagnosis, because it's very difficult and hard to navigate. So help pointing people in the right direction, letting them know about the resources that they can avail of, as well as being able to tap into a group of people who are also going through similar situations, whether that's for the care partners to get involved with a support group, or if that's for the person living with dementia to be able to go to the Alzheimer's Association meetups, which is also another social program for people to get together, or a memory cafe for both the care partner and for the person living with dementia to come together, which is really one of the only social programs that exists for both parties. So in that respect, having the social programming as well as the educational and the awareness, that's really our focus.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a very quick question.
Sure.
I was watching on TV last night, Congressman Kennedy and Senator Markey were talking about there's an incentive to find a cure for Alzheimer's within 5 years. Do you stay involved in research and not so much a cure, but like treatments to help people who are living with the disease?
I'm sorry, the question.
Does your commission stay involved with any medical treatments or updates for families?
So I work very closely with a lot of the Alzheimer's research disease centers that are here. We are lucky enough to have 2 in the city of Boston, both the BU Alzheimer's Disease Center as well as the Brigham and Women's Center for Alzheimer's Research and Treatment. So that's really, we're getting updates from them all the time, and I work very closely with those partner organizations. They've also increased funding for dementia research quite significantly. So that is an additional kind of incentive that has gone through and been approved for additional research and funding for that. But I definitely stay abreast of kind of new drug developments, although there are very few, but they are working very hard to get those drugs to get FDA approval. However, all have failed thus far. So there is one drug currently that is up for FDA approval. But I stay abreast of kind of all that research and
I guess
treatment.
I was just asking, you're able to link families with different care treatments and
Oh,
things like that,
absolutely.
yeah?
Yes, excuse me. Yes,
Great.
absolutely.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other questions from the board members? Olivia?
How do you advertise the memory cafes? How would someone in Boston know where to go for that resource?
Absolutely. So I am one resource for that. We are having a kickoff event just this Friday for East Boston Memory Cafe, where we're inviting community partners and community members to really spread that word. So we work closely with community organizations who work with older adults, but it's not just about older adults. Working with schools where grandparents pick up their grandchildren, where adult children may be caring for their young children, and they might be caring for their older adult loved one. So we've advertised with schools, with YMCAs, with libraries, with neighborhood health centers, with the fire department, with the police department, the post office, really anywhere in which people in their daily lives would be interacting, either with older adults specifically or just general organizations and establishments that people would be working with, because you're right, it's about getting the word out there so that people know, and that it destigmatizes going to one of these programs if there are multiple touch points where you're hearing from this, and it's much more accepted. So those are some of the avenues that we go through for that, and working with senior centers as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Yeah.
Elizabeth?
This is more just by way of comment, as you might have read in the lay press as well, that they feel that even with the importance of sleep, and that even say from say from the 50s onward, that trying to take those preventive measures can be helpful as well, if not preventive fully, but at least to help with what they feel might be occurring with, as I understand it in simplified language, is scavenging amyloid during the sleep process.
Absolutely. Yes. Sleep is when our brains repair themselves, and that is kind of part of our psychosocial health, is getting enough sleep. So that's a great point. Thank you.
Great, Amy. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you, everyone.
Next, we have a presentation from Lynn Dan about the tax season and free tax prep.
Hello. Hi. I'll be brief to give you the quick awareness about this pink little piggy and the program, the Boston Tax Help Coalition. It's the program that's for, these are made in all kinds of different languages, but primarily right now what I'm here to represent, as you can see by my name tag, is that I'm the disability ambassador. And we have specific events happening at the Deaf Inc. on February 27th, March 7th, March 21st, and March 4th during the day. And it's requiring people to call to schedule the office. But meanwhile, other than that, I also am really looking to make connections with other folks from other organizations to get word out about this event. It's only until the end of the tax season, but it's something that's really importantly gives folks an option of making money and not having to spend the money in their tax world. So,
Great.
any questions? Sure.
Paul?
Locations that you're offering the service, is it?
Locations.
all in the
There
world?
are
Okay.
20 locations, and I've got all of these documents here in all the languages, and I will also leave my business card so anyone can connect with me further about making, whether it's a brief connection just like I am, or introducing people one-to-one.
Lynn, it's Jerry. Remind us again, what's the name of your organization?
It's the Boston Tax Help Coalition.
Great.
That's the City of Boston's program. Sure.
Go ahead, Carl.
For those who are watching on TV, do you have, can you say out loud maybe a website or a phone number or something for people to get in touch with you?
Definitely. Good question. Telephone number is 617-635-3682. I'm sorry, that's the other. 617-635-4500. And the office is within the city of, it's called, you can go on to the Facebook at fb.com/Boston Tax Help. And then the other, www.taxhelp.org are the different locations. So that's www.taxhelp.org is the local website for sure.
Lynn, thank you. It's Jerry. Do you have any idea of how many people annually take advantage of your services? Or
last year, I think there was 4,000.
wow.
And
it's totally free, correct?
it is solely free, and the whole purpose of the program is to not just to, as it says, tax easy tax, but the Earned Income Tax Credit Program, the Children Tax Credit Program, and the Healthcare Tax Credit Services are all of these that are you can consider as reimbursements, tax reimbursements. And not everybody knows this, and you get charged for these kinds of things rather when you go to the other sources, the H&Rs and those other sources to help you with your taxes. I can say that I made a presentation about this a couple of weeks ago to an organization, and 2/3 of the place did not know this existed. So I was very glad to get out, and that's why I am here now saying that if there's any organization that you'd like me to just make this quickie at or submit information to you, I'd be very happy to do so to get this. Yep.
Go ahead, Olivia.
Can you repeat the Deaf Inc.
The
dates?
Deaf Inc. The Deaf Inc. dates are next Saturday, February 22nd, March 7th, March 21st, and April 4th. And they are 9 to 5, and it's best to call the office at 617-505-4823 to schedule an appointment, because the office likes to be sure that things are followed through with every client that does come, and makes sure that things are scheduled.
So call Deaf Inc., not
Yes.
Boston Tax Help?
Yes, call Deaf Inc. for
Okay.
the Deaf Inc.
Great. Any other questions?
Yes,
Go ahead, Jessica.
Jessica.
Thank you so
is
much,
our-
Jerry. I just wanted to add a little bit. So I've been working with Lynn, but I've also been working on the Deaf Tax Days for the last 5 or 6 years. And so the dates that Lynn mentioned are at Deaf Inc., and people need to call in advance and get an appointment with Deaf Inc., as opposed to the other sites. They are more
That's true.
walk-in based. Deaf Inc. is doing it by appointment only, so that, to ensure that everybody is seen and that everybody has the access that they need. This is a great success for the Tax Help Coalition and also for tax services in the deaf community. Oftentimes, the deaf community struggles to get tax services based on the lack of interpreters and the lack of tax organizations willing to pay for interpreters or have the funds for interpreters. And so we partnered with Deaf Inc. and multiple city agencies in order to provide. We have, for lack of a better word, an army of interpreters that come in that day that are hearing interpreters as well as CDIs, so certified deaf interpreters, as well as Deaf Inc. staff who are really there to break down any linguistic barrier that there may be towards getting taxes done. And so that's a really great success that we're very proud of, and we serve about roughly 100 deaf consumers every year.
Great. Lynn, I just had a question. It's
Sure.
Sherry. What would you say in terms of, I've spoken to people about the program. I've tried to get people interested in the program, and some of them say, oh, if it's free, it's not high quality, or, they could be missing stuff. Like, what would you say to that?
That is untrue, because it is very specific. People are trained specifically with the process, and they're all volunteers to that degree to ensure that the taxes are reviewed. And I do have to admit that it may take longer for someone to be seen, but what the length means, I compare it to a doctor's office, that the longer you get with someone who's going to help you with your taxes, the healthier you're going to be. It's worked differently at the different locations. Some of them, as Jessica said, are scheduled and on this list. They'll tell you. They're very few.
Sure. Do we have any other questions from the board members?
Okay.
Wesley.
So my first question, I know you mentioned that this was by volunteers. Are they all certified accountants, or?
They're certified, certified, trained to be tax coalition licensors. Yes.
So to clarify, they are certified to prepare taxes. They are not certified accountants.
Thank you.
These are not accountants like in their everyday jobs.
you.
Oftentimes these are volunteers who sometimes they are college students or PhD students or master's students who are often in accounting or business backgrounds, or people who we have often met who are just really excited about taxes. I know it's hard to believe, but there are a group of them that a bunch of people really like to do taxes, so much so that they are willing to volunteer to go through extensive training that is put on by the IRS to become certified tax preparers. And then we also have financial guides who do financial checkups. So they talk about credit scores and credit building and things like that. And then we also have people who do quality checks on each of the tax returns to make sure that they are filled out properly. These are people who have much more extensive training and background. Sometimes they are paid city staff who work for the Tax Help Coalition, and so they have more extensive backgrounds as well. But to clarify, they are oftentimes not accountants, but certified tax preparers.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thanks for that clarification. Jessica, do we have any other questions from the board, either in person or on the phone? Do we have anyone on the phone?
I don't know if we have anyone on the phone.
Okay. Any other questions from the board here? Hearing none, thank you very much, Lynn. And before we move on to our next presentation, I've neglected to do this. We had another board member who was out of the room when we did introductions. So Juan, could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, hello everyone. Forgive my absence in that moment. My name is Juan Carlos Ramirez. I live in the South End.
Great. And next we have a presentation from the MBTA, I believe, on the Green Line.
Good evening. Thank you for providing me an opportunity here to present an overview of the Green Line Transformation Program. My name is Angel Peña. I'm the chief of the Green Line Transformation Program for the MBTA. I am joined here tonight by 3 senior directors from the program team, as well a few other team members. We have a short presentation to share our vision for the future of the Green Line, and we also look forward to getting to know you and to have the opportunity to learn from your insights. But before I get started, I recognize that there are people here with sensory limitations, so please feel free to raise your hand and stop us during our presentation if you would like us to repeat anything. And at the end of our presentation, we'll welcome your questions on any insights that you want to share with us. As you may know, Green Line Transformation grew from what was originally the Green Line Accessibility Improvements Program, which was to provide much-needed accessibility upgrades to 26 stations. It was from that program that a more holistic vision developed into a transforming the entire Green Line. To recognize the impact of the program, it is important to first, I believe, to have an understanding of the magnitude of the Green Line. It is the longest network within the MBTA transit system, spanning 46 miles of track, and it has the highest ridership per mile of any US light rail system, with passengers making around 200,000 trips each weekday. On top of that, in a few years, the Green Line extension will result in 50,000 additional passengers trips per day. So you might be asking yourself by now, what is the Green Line Transformation Program, or as we call it, the GLT? Well, it is a portfolio of more than 50 projects that impact the Green Line organized and managed together under GLT over the next 15 years. We can say now that we have a strategy in place to ensure that the system will meet your needs today and in the future. Our strategy is a holistic approach with one main goal: to improve the quality of service of the Green Line. And how we will do that? We will do that by increasing the capacity of the line and enhancing accessibility through fleet modernization, infrastructure and facility upgrades, and integration of the state-of-the-art technology. But how are we going to make sure that we are on target to accomplish this goal? Each GLT project targets 5 quality of service dimensions from the customer's point of view. That's what makes this different, which will benefit all riders. These dimensions are safety, capacity, reliability, access, and experience. The implementation of this program over the next 15 years will provide improvements across each of these areas, resulting in a quality of service that you both want and deserve. A holistic approach means, for my team and I, that we will provide transparent information moving forward on construction schedules, anticipated impacts, and progress updates to you. We know that the quality of service today is less than ideal. We know that. The good news is that we have a plan, a dedicated team to get the Green Line where it needs to be, so you can rely on it and you can get where you need to go. Our team is using customer feedback to help shape our approach. Some of these comments that you probably already are very aware and concerns include feeling unsure if you're at the correct location due to lack of station signage. Feeling like you don't know what to expect due to inconsistent station amenities. Feeling unsafe due to a narrow or poor platform conditions. Feeling nervous while you're waiting on the platform when it's unclear what direction the train is coming from, and wondering how long you should wait due to the lack of countdown information at stations. So many of our goals and projects address these concerns. We're providing solutions like improved wayfinding, which is a project currently underway and that we will talk a little bit later on. Defining a set of holistic design criteria to use for design all stations. Upgrading stations and infrastructures, and updating technology at stations to address the needs of all riders and provide the improved quality of service that we've been talking to you about for everyone, especially people with limitations. The GLT team has established a holistic vision for accessibility and inclusive design. This vision is based upon one of our guiding principles for design, which has 6 points. Those are: to ensure our primary focus is the customer, to anticipate the needs of today and tomorrow, to go beyond relevant code compliance, to ensure service is seamless and consistent, to address the needs of people diverse in age, ability, and culture, and to ensure that all customers feel welcome. And this is why, to achieve our goal, we're making significant investments to lay the groundwork for the procurement of the Type 10, or as I call it, the supercar. We're planning for the deployment of the supercar, along with the infrastructure needed to one day operate as a 2 supercar train set. You will hear more about this in a few minutes. Throughout this program, we will provide passenger safety, increase core capacity, improve on-time performance, increase accessibility, and improve the experience for all customers at every stage of your ride. Each project in our portfolio moving forward is defined by the areas of focus, which will be overseen by one of our 3 GLT senior directors: Desiree Patrice, Tamika Thibodeau, and Kimberly Woolard. Desiree's focus is on track, power, signals, infrastructures, stations, and accessibility. Tamika's, on the other hand, focus of area is on technology for our riders and operations. And Kimberly's focus is on the current and future vehicles, maintenance facilities upgrades, and wayside control. But we also have other members of our team, such as Nancy Farrell, Valerie Fletcher, that are here with us tonight, who bring expertise in communications, but also in inclusive design. Laura Railsford was planning to be here, so I apologize on her behalf. She was looking forward to be with us here tonight. But it's also important to note that the GLT works very closely with our team, with the Office of System-Wide Accessibility, to align our efforts with their vision. So at this time, I would like to pass it over to Kimberly Wooler, who to give you a little bit more further about our program.
Thank you, Angel. Projects are underway to provide interim accessibility improvements prior to the future vision for a fully accessible Green Line. Our projects include B Branch Station improvements, which is a project that is an improved design of the segment of B Branch from Packard's Corner to Warren Street, where we collaborate with the City of Boston and coordinate with other stakeholders. This project will increase accessibility by allowing for step-free boarding, improve station amenities, and will reduce crowding on platforms. The D Branch Full Accessibility Project will also allow for step-free boarding by increasing platform height to 8 inches above the top of rail at 4 stations, which are Beaconsfield, Chestnut Hill, Elliott, and Waban. This project will enhance safety at stations through improved lighting and signage, as well as improvements to the overall condition of the stations. With the addition of 2 projects not shown here that addresses the accessibility at Newton Highlands and Brookline Hills, the D branch will soon be the first fully accessible Green Line branch. GLT is preparing for the new Type 10 supercar, which is 40 feet longer than the current vehicles and requires many, many infrastructure upgrades. Not only will these upgrades allow the supercars to run on the current system, but they will also allow for more cars to run during peak hours. In addition, modifications will be done to platforms to allow operation of a 2-car supercar train set. This will create an opportunity now to double the capacity. And we all know it's a challenge to get a seat during rush hour today. With the future design into consideration, we will have a plan. While the supercar is still in the conceptual phase, we do know the following. It will reduce crowding. It will allow for level boarding with low floor access. It will have additional doors which are wider to fully comply with ADA requirements. And it will have additional wheelchair spaces to improve comfort. And it will include modern technology for a more clear, reliable information. Similar to the input we sought from this board on the Type 9 bridge plate design, we will be reaching out to you again through this journey. While we transition to the supercar, infrastructure upgrades will occur while we still maintain the current fleet and continue to supply service to our riders. Today still is in the interim period where there are 3 types of vehicles running on the Green Line, with partially or fully raised platforms requiring a bridge plate for boarding. Eventually, the Green Line will retire all the other vehicles and exclusively operate the supercars, with all platforms raised for level boarding. I will now turn this back to Angel to speak about our commitment to the continued outreach to our riders and to the communities we serve.
So thank you, Kim. So this past September, we held 5 public meetings across the communities that served by the Green Line to introduce this program, which is exciting for us. Like I said, it's something that the MBTA is approaching differently. You can have now, what makes this different than other programs is that you have a dedicated team that you can rely on for anything on today's needs for Green Line, but also for the future. And we'll continue to do these outreach efforts, but also including direct engagement with the accessibility community to gain feedback and ideas. As Kimberly stated, we value your past contributions and we recognize that your input will greatly benefit the success of this transformation. We need you. In fact, IHCD will be hosting sessions on the tentative plans for the Central Tunnel and for the B branch in late spring or summer this year, and we will welcome co-hosting those with the Disability Commission. So we look forward to working together with you, and please know that we're always available to address any concerns you might have as we move forward with transforming the Green Line. And on behalf of my team and myself, I hope is one of the many times that you will see us now working closely with you for this program. This now concludes our presentation, and I want to thank you and welcome any questions that you have. I have my team here with me for any questions that you might have, so we're able to address it.
Thank you for your presentation. It was very informative. Any questions from the board? Wesley?
Thank you for coming and presenting today. I have a question about the supercar. So can you compare that and maybe what it looks like with the current car? I'm not really sure I understand the difference between what we currently have and what that supercar will look like.
It's me. So yes, the current fleet, which is a Type 7, a Type 8, and a Type 9, they are only 74 foot long. The supercar will be 114 foot long. It will also have additional doors. It will have 100% low floor, which the current fleet does not have. The aisles will be 32 inches wider, and there will be enough space to have 6 wheeled mobility devices and 2 with flip-up seats. So, a big difference.
Olivia? Oh, sorry, Wesley, I apologize.
No, that's fine. I do have one more question, though. So I'm assuming the supercar will have more people on it, right? So is there any safety issue related to having a higher capacity of people on the car at the same time?
So no, and we work very closely with the DPU as well as our safety department. The current car that we are looking at, the conceptual car, is actually in service in Toronto right now. So no. And the first question was, it's double the capacity.
Just give me 1 minute.
Yep.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Great. Olivia, please.
So, will there ever be a time that we don't have to use the ramps? I mean, not the bridge plating, not like the metal bridge plates, but the ramps that are built into the car?
So the ramps that are built into the car are the bridge plates.
Okay, that's what you're referring to?
Yes, ma'am.
My understanding of bridge plates are they're the ugly metal things that are
The
at,
crank. The crank ones
well,
that...
those are Moby lifts.
Yes.
But the ones on the orange line.
Ah, okay. So when we get to 100% low floor and all the stations have been upgraded to topper rail, over 14 inches topper rail, you will not need a bridge plate or any mobility. It will be completely flush. You will
Party
not
on the green line.
party on the green line. Yes, ma'am.
We'll be stuffing that car.
Go ahead, Carl.
So, the supercar is conceptual at this point. I'm going to put in my plug from a hard of hearing perspective. Since I'm also blind, I can't always tell what stop I'm pulling into, but I can't always hear the announcement. I would love it if the supercar also had induction coil loop, so I could just flick a switch on my hearing aid and hear all the announcements. So that's just something to consider as you're moving forward in the design.
Carl, we'll be reaching out to you on that one. Yes, I think that was a great conversation, and we will certainly be in touch to talk about that.
Ducia.
Thank you. This is Ducia. I have 2 questions. First of all, I'm not sure if it's actually a question, but I think it's fantastic that you're going to have announcements at every station because I actually live on the Green Line, and so I think it's great that you have these announcements so that even if I can't look at my phone for whatever reason, then because Wi-Fi and whatnot happens, what my actual question is though, I think I remember hearing about this from Governor Baker on the news. Is this regarding all the trains, like every train, like Green Line, DE, every Green Line station, or is this?
You're not talking about on the train, you're talking about station announcements, correct?
I'm talking about the Green Line.
Yes,
so I'm on
station.
the Green Line, and there's Green Line D, Green Line E, and I don't remember which other ones, but is it related to all Green Line trains?
Yes, yep.
So that's a good question. We sometimes get that same because what I will say is this new approach is really looking at all the branches of the Green Line.
Yes.
So everything that we have presented to you today is holistically all the branches on the Green Line, looking in a holistic way to modernize the system. Yes.
Okay, and just to follow up, and why are you doing this, let's say construction, there will be the shuttle buses, or what is then the process?
Hi, my name is Tamika Thibodeau again. So yes, when we are doing construction, we will be having shuttle buses, alternative service throughout the system. So we will be accommodating you for that. So yes, we will have shuttle buses or alternative service.
Thank you.
Olivia has a follow-up.
Yeah. If you're using shuttle buses, just a word on the big coach buses. If you've ever tried to use the lift in a wheelchair, it's death-defying. Like, not a joke. I've almost fallen off the platforms, and I'm in a manual. So you might want to address the issue of using those big coach buses. I know you guys don't have enough regular buses and regular drivers and whatnot, but the coach buses don't work for us.
So we've heard that, and we are looking into it, but all the coach buses we do use are accessible, and we are working with those vendors to make sure that their equipment is working properly so that you don't have that issue. But every shuttle bus private vendor that we use is accessible, and we'll work with them to make sure that their drivers are trained on it so that they can accommodate our customers when we have to use them. Because you are correct, unfortunately, with all these service impacts to the customers, we don't always have enough MBTA buses to use. I mean, we would love to use just MBTA buses, but unfortunately, with all the work and construction going on, we have to use outside resources.
But I do appreciate your comments, and I think this is one of the things that we're looking forward. This is why we're here. We want to hear your concerns, and we can also find ways to mitigate it, and so to make it easier for you and everyone else while we are trying to get your service reliable. So I think one of the things that I mentioned also is we're going to be working very closely with IHCD to be doing those engagement sessions. And this is one of the things that in this spring we want to hear from you, is so we can then get back to the MTA and work collaboratively with the different departments that we got involved to better communicate what are the issues and how we can mitigate what you're bringing here.
Yeah, I mean, I know this summer I'm gonna have hell to pay because I live between Washington Square and Washington Street. And both the B line and the C line are going to be experiencing outages in service.
I hear you. So, and I hear you, and I completely, this is something that, to tell you the truth, we went through a lot of planning, and here's the best way I can approach this. I want you to bear with us, and I want you to help us with the community to help them understand the benefits with it, right? So we're trying to say, okay, we're gonna be doing this work in 28 days. I wanna put things into context. The fact is that the MBTA is providing, out of the 24 hours, 20 hours a day service. We only have 4 hours to do maintenance, and which makes it very complicated to do complex maintenance work. We took a lot of time to figure a way how we can minimize this disruption in a longer term for you. And just imagine this. The work that it will have taken 28 days, that I know, the stuff, we will have to be doing that for a year. And the amount for the two 28 days, weekdays and weekends, will have taken 2 years. So what I need your help is to see, would you rather actually leave the pain for 28 days and know that you can have more hours of service, or be leaving this and be interrupting to your service for a long period of 2 years? So we figure, why would not go out there, get the work done, make sure that we do it safely, but accelerate that so you see the worth about actually taking those 28 days out of your service instead of disruptions for a long term.
Elizabeth has a question.
With all due respect, I'd like to follow up on what Olivia was saying. I think regardless of the time interval, which usually is measured at least in months, that there does need to be some accommodation recognized for for people who use mobility devices and would need to be lifted. It happens to have been a number of years since I was in a circumstance of taking a coach bus, but I think what Olivia is referring to is the sheer height of that. I have no fear of heights. And also, I don't even remember in that instance if, unlike, say, the MBTA ride vans, the conventional vans that have some semblance of trying to, it's not strapping the chair down, but at least have a little bit of a seatbelt kind of situation behind the passenger. But I think we need to work with the commissioner and with people who need to be at the table and find out ways to accommodate people with mobility so that they can safely go from place A to B in a timely way, while, especially if two lines are down simultaneously, rather than just saying either live with it or, find, either don't travel or rely on something other than public transportation if that's not what somebody is able to do.
We definitely hear you. I just want to clarify that when the C line is down, the B line will not be down. The B line is only scheduled to be down for 3 weekends, where the C line is July, where that's the 28 days, and then the E line would follow in August. So we are not planning on having the B and C down at the same time. I will take your feedback back to the office and look and see if there's something that we can do to assist with this matter. So we are hearing you, we're taking notes, and we're still planning what we're going to do for the summertime. So I do know that the plan is for the C lines, because that doesn't have a bus line, dedicated bus line, to use the coach buses, but we can look to see if there's other options that we can do for the community.
And this is Jerry. I would just echo those sentiments of my fellow board members, and I would just say, I would encourage you, as you mentioned, to work closely with SWA and maybe the commissioner and the commissioner's office around some of these accessibility concerns as well. I think it's very important. It's great that you have a separate office and you want to include us, and that you've already reached out to IHCD and so forth. I think that's great. I wish every department at the T would be as forward thinking, and I hope your office and the way the Green Line transformation goes, can be a model for the entire transportation system in the future. Thank you for being here. Any final questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is my report, which will be very brief. I'll probably steal a little bit of the commissioner's thunder. I would just encourage everyone. I know you've probably seen those ads and heard those ads from Secretary Galvin, Secretary of State Galvin, about early voting and registering to vote. I would encourage everyone here and everyone, with a disability to, make sure that they are registered and, avail themselves of early voting. It eliminates the possibility of bad weather and so forth. It's great that Massachusetts, has implemented this, and there are several, opportunities, several places throughout the different neighborhoods, for next week from the 24th to the 28th. And I would just encourage us all, whenever possible, to avail ourselves, to vote and to exercise our right to vote, and to also to challenge any candidates for any elective office that you see, to make sure that your voices are heard and the voices of our constituents are heard, and challenge them on how they're going to meet the needs of their constituents with disabilities. So that's my report. Next is the commissioner's report.
Thanks, Jerry. So I can just follow up on Jerry's comments about early voting. As he mentioned, there's a flyer in your packets with the dates and locations. Early voting will be open in City Hall every day throughout the week, all next week, Monday through Friday. All of the polling locations are accessible, and the auto mark will be available at every polling location during early voting and also during the standard voting on March 3rd. So if you have questions, you can call the elections department or you can reach out to us. But as Jerry said, we encourage everybody to take advantage of the early voting. We know people with disabilities may have a day when they don't feel well, or the weather's bad, like you said, transportation's an issue. So instead of waiting for one day when it's the only chance you have to vote, now you have a week's worth of opportunity to try and get out and make your voices heard. So thank you, Jerry, for that. A few other announcements we have. The census is this year, as everybody knows, Census 2020. April 1st is officially Census Day. For Boston residents, you'll be getting a mailing before April 1st. It will have a number on a postcard that will be your unique identification number. You can use this to call and do the census over the phone. You can do it online, and you can still do it by mail on a form. So watch out for a mailing on the census. You don't need to have that number if you misplace the postcard or if you don't get it. But if you have it, it's almost automatic. If you type in the number, it will bring up your information, and you can just correct it, make sure it's correct, and put in anything that's missing. So either way, if you get the postcard or not, please pay attention to the census. It's really critical that everybody fills it out because it determines the number of representatives we have. It determines funding. Massachusetts is traditionally a state that's undercounted. So we really want to get the word out, encourage your friends in the community to fill out the census. And if anyone has any questions about anything, they can call our office. And we also have an office in City Hall that's working exclusively on the census. So very important information. Another thing that's happening soon is the Reelabilities Film Festival. That's happening from March 22nd through April 2nd, and it's going to be at venues all throughout Metro Boston. Several will be taking place in Boston. I know the Museum of Science is a venue, the Cambridge Public Library, there's a showing in Newton. The full schedule is available online at, I'm not sure of the website, but we can get it, we can email it to you, or you can Google it. It's Reelabilities Boston. And for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's a film series. We take part in the national initiative. This is our local showing, and all the films are either about people with disabilities or written or produced by people with disabilities. So they're all free, and they are. It's a wonderful experience. If you haven't gone yet, I encourage everybody to go. A lot of times, people who are in the movie or who've produced the movie will come and do a talk afterwards. So we encourage everybody to attend. All open caption. Thank you, Carl.
That's great.
Very important. So that will be March 22nd through April 2nd. Also, next month at the advisory board, our meeting is a week earlier. It's going to be on March 12th, just so you have that in mind, just because of scheduling with the chamber. And our presentation that month is going to consist of the public works facilities. The city public works facilities are going to come out and present on the accessibility upgrades for City Hall Plaza. It's a really big deal. It's part of a 5-year master plan on the plaza, and there's a lot of changes coming. So I want to encourage everybody to attend. We're going to get some social media out to try to get members of the public to come and see all the great access that will be built into the plaza, because right now, as we know, it's traditionally been very inaccessible. So soon it will be not only beautiful, but also accessible.
Commissioner?
Yes.
So sorry, just for clarification, the meeting is on March 11th, not March 12th,
Okay,
the Wednesday.
Still Wednesday, yes, just a week earlier. So March 11th, and we'll get information out. We'll be blasting it out to the community, so watch out for that. But we really hope everybody will be able to attend and learn about the changes and also give input on your thoughts. Let's see, okay, ADA 30 is, this year's the 30th anniversary celebration of the ADA. So for this year, instead of having another big celebration on the Common, like we did for the 20th and the 25th. We're going to do a march and rally in Copley Square to shout out about rights, disability rights, and call for equity, diversity and inclusion, equality, diversity, and inclusion in all legislation and in all laws and policies about people with disabilities. So that's going to be on July 22nd, which is also a Wednesday. Is that right, Jessica? Wednesday? Wednesday
Yes.
the 22nd.
Wednesday the 22nd.
And the march is going to kick off at noon, right in the Copley area. We're working right now with special events and the Boston Police to work out the exact route.
That's great.
Yeah, and we'll have more information coming up about that, but we encourage everyone to attend. We'll have a speakers stage after the march and rally, and like I said, it won't be so much as a celebration as really a call to action to speak out about rights and look for equality, diversity, and inclusion. Let's see, what else do I have? We wanted to give a shout out to one of our board members, Zari Amir Husseini. If you haven't heard yet, she is going to be recognized this month, later this month, at the BCIL Marie Felton Awards Dinner. She's going to be get the annual award from Marie Felton, so we're really thrilled that she's been being recognized in that way. If any of you haven't been to the event, it's a great event. It's a fundraiser for BCIL. It's at a really beautiful hotel in Copley Square. I think it's the Fairmont.
It is.
Yep, and so congratulate Zari if you see her, even if you can't make it to the event. It's she's a great recipient of the award.
And just to clarify, that date is March 20th.
March 20th, okay, so not this month, it's next month, thank you. And then one other announcement, we do have 2 open seats on our advisory board, so I'm going to work with the different city departments that we work with to get that posted. Requirements for the board are that you have to be a city resident, either have a disability or have a close affiliation with someone with a disability, either a relative or a significant other, and you have to be available to come to the meetings once a month. So we encourage people to get the word out. We'll send you the posting once it's finalized. And we love to get diversity and representation of neighborhoods, disabilities, languages, just so the more diversity we have, the more people we can work with and hear from. So please spread that word. And then my last update is just on our financial empowerment initiative. I believe I've told you that we are getting funding from the Citibank Foundation to work on financial empowerment, so we hope to kick that off in the next month or two, and we'll have more updates for you on workshops and community outreach and community programs for people in the Boston area to learn about financial empowerment, everything from banking to mortgages to savings to going back to work if you have benefits. So we're going to take a real close-up and specific look at financial empowerment as opposed to every other type of empowerment. So we're excited about that. And I believe that's all I have for my report. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Any questions from the board? Hearing none, thank you, Commissioner.
Sure.
The old business item that we had was writing, Jessica and I were charged with writing a letter on behalf of the advisory board to the owners of the Abilities Expo, encouraging them to come back to Boston. I know we found out a few months ago that the Abilities Expo would not be coming to Boston in 2020, and that's a real hardship for the disability community here. So Jessica and myself and the commissioner drafted a letter to them that we're going to be sending out, and it should be included in your packet. We don't need to have another vote on that, do we, Jessica?
We already voted on it.
Right.
We do not need an additional vote. We just wanted to submit it to the board so that the board could make any edits that they deem necessary. So if you have any today or over the next couple days, please email me and let me know. An additional action item, or an old business item, Jerry, if I could add.
Okay, sure.
Melinda from our office came and spoke to you guys last month about getting a couple questions from each of you for social media. That was to highlight everybody during the month of February. And so month of February is dwindling, and we have not heard from all of you. So please, either let Melinda know that you are declining to participate, which is totally fine, or please get us your answers this week. If you need the answers resent to you, ask Melinda or I, and we can make sure we get them to you. We just want to make sure that we highlight all of our wonderful board members this month as best we can. So thank you.
Go ahead, Olivia.
I definitely need them resent. They got lost in my 20,000 plus unread email inbox.
No problem.
And Carl, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, why don't you resend them to everybody? Because I don't know what the questions are either.
Will do. Thank you. It will come from Melinda, but don't worry, I will also be on that email, so I'll know that you all got it.
And Jessica, just to clarify, what, where is this going to be posted? Like Facebook, where, you know?
So throughout the month, we've been posting on Facebook your lovely photos of your faces that you've submitted to us, and a couple questions as to why why you're on this board and what you like about being on this board. It's pretty straightforward. You just got to send us a photo of yourself and answer 3 questions. And I will have Melinda resend all of those questions tomorrow morning.
Great, thanks for that not so gentle reminder.
Can I go back to the Abilities Expo letter for a moment, though? Just to follow up on what Jerry said, the letter that we're going to send, we've also been asked to share that with other disability commissions so that other towns also want to try to persuade the expo to come back to Boston.
They'll sign off with us. That's
Yeah,
great.
so they're going to write letters, and then we're going to try to all send them at the same time. So hopefully the owner gets the message that we really will miss him and we want him to come back to Boston. So we'll shoot to get that out in March, along with other commissions, hopefully.
That's great. Carl, go ahead.
I just want to follow up on an old action item that we've discussed at the last couple of meetings. Wesley had brought up the fact that it would be nice to have an ordinance to do open captions, and I'm just hoping, but I think this board needs some guidance on how to pursue that, and I'm hoping that maybe in the next meeting or 2 we can have someone come and explain to us how an ordinance is created, so that we can.
Someone from intergovernmental relations, maybe, or whatever.
Wesley, I wanted to apologize that didn't make it onto the agenda. It was totally an oversight on my part. I forgot to follow up on it. But yes, now that you're raising the issue, I'm happy to work on that. And I think that it's a great idea for the board to start thinking about potential ordinances or hearings that they want to ask the city councilors to hold. So I will reach out to Intergovernmental Relations tomorrow and see if we can start the process of either meeting with the city councilor or their staff to try to get a hearing together on the issue, which a meeting, I guess that will lead to a hearing, which are the precursors to an ordinance. So I think that's a great potential ordinance, and I'm happy to support it. I don't know if last month I was very clear in expressing my support for it, but I do absolutely support it, and I think it's great that the board wants to take action items like this. I fully encourage it because you know there's a lot of power in the community voices, especially when you're appointed by the mayor to speak out for access. So the more things like this you want to do, we certainly support, and I'll be happy to be that bridge to get you to the right person in City Hall to get that ball rolling. So thank you again, Wesley, for that advocacy. We appreciate it.
And thanks for the reminder, Carl. Any new action items or new business? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Carlos had his hand up. Carl first.
Hi, this is Juan Ramirez. I just was wondering, since we are trying to get all this media, this public media use a little more often, are there chances that perhaps we can repost information that is provided during these meetings into those media venues? I don't know, for example, a phone number, websites, or things that were presented here that show that this was discussed. If you want more information, please follow these links, something like that. Something to consider, perhaps.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. We can, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, that's an excellent idea. So kind of like the several things that we discussed at the meeting.
Yeah.
The next few days, we can tweet them out and Facebook them out.
Yeah, something like that, especially like the information that is presented here by our guests. That way it doesn't sit through for only today.
Yep.
But it can also be shared throughout the course of, I don't know, the next month or weeks or something like that.
Yeah, we can make that part of our process.
Yeah.
Yep, that's
I think
great.
that's important. Thank you, Juan.
So is everybody signed up for our Facebook page and everybody's gets our tweets? So everyone gets our newsletter?
I have not done the tweeting, but I'll try.
Okay. Carl has a question.
Carl?
Just real quick, this is budget season for the state, and there's a number of ways and means here and taking place now, but the public one, the one that's open to the public, for the public to testify, is on Tuesday, March 24th, at the State House and Gardner Auditorium at, I think it's at 11 a.m. And you can come and testify about any aspect of the budget. Anything, it doesn't necessarily have to be disability related, but I just wanted to let everybody know. And I will have interpreters, cart, assistive listening devices, and will accommodate others with need if they contact the State House. So I just wanted to let everybody know about the public ways and means here, and it's their opportunity to come and be heard and testify about any aspect of the state budget.
Great, thank you, Carl.
I have one other.
Go ahead.
Just a few other things to throw out there to everybody. We've been talking internally with the staff just about ways to support the board's work, and a few things we're talking about are different trainings and also a retreat. I know a few of you had mentioned possibly a retreat where we could get to know each other a little bit better. So we'll follow up this meeting with some emails about what your thoughts are on a retreat, if you would want it to be like on a weekend or a weekday, a weeknight, how much time you could spend, what you'd want to get out of it, and then also trainings that you're interested in. I know my architectural access staff is developing an architectural access training for different city departments, and I thought it might be helpful to do one for the board if you're interested, because we get all the notices from the AAB of variance applications that the board could certainly weigh in on if you'd like. We also get all the notices of public comments from the BPDA about new developments going in, and public comments are usually open for 3 weeks to a month. So if you were interested in getting those notices, we can send them to you. And so we could just give you a little bit of a primer on how to read them, what to look for. We can give you some guidance. I mean, we really want your input on the content, but I know it can be kind of confusing to figure out how to get to figure out what it means, what they're saying. So we thought of a training on architectural access. If there are other things you want training on, we'd be happy to promote that. So
I think that would be great.
Okay, we'll send an email with some suggestions, and then look for your feedback also moving forward in the spring.
Thank you, Commissioner. Now we've reached the public input part of the meeting. If anybody from the public has a question or comment about anything that's concerning them or anything that was brought up today, please make your way to the podium and state your name. Oh, Valerie's coming down.
Hi, this is Valerie Fletcher from the Institute for Human-Centered Design. As I was listening to Kristen talk about trainings, I don't know if you've had the training that we developed on plan reading for people with disabilities, taught by one of our architects with a disability. And boy, oh boy, does it make good sense for people to just know what they're looking at, because there's this assumption that you have somehow gotten it through your bloodstream because you're a person with disability. So ridiculous.
Right,
And people assume this all the time.
It's very technical.
But Megan Dufresne would be more than happy to do this for you if you're interested.
Yeah, we would love that.
Okay.
I know Kathy Gibbs has done the ADA training for the
Yeah,
board.
this is completely different. This is an architect training people how to look at plans in a way that is practical and easy to remember.
Great.
It takes about 90 minutes, I think.
Okay, we'll follow up.
All right,
Thank you
thanks.
so much.
Okay.
I've had the pleasure of working with Megan on a number of occasions, and I think she would be terrific.
Thank you very much, Valerie. Any other comments or questions from the public? And we don't have anybody on the phone, is that correct, Jessica?
Any comments from the phone?
Hearing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion.
Any seconds?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned. See you next month, everybody.
Awesome.